Hello and welcome to PKA Soft Touch Microneedle Design Technology. My name is Victoria Bennett, and today we are going to hear about PKA Soft Touch Equity Crowdfunding Campaign and get an insight into the microneedle licensing process and unique offering. If you have any questions, just add them into the comment box on the screen. You'll see there's a little blue one. I think it's on the bottom left of your screen. Or alternatively, if you're joining us from Facebook, just shove it into the chat and we'll make sure all the questions are answered during our session today. First off, I'm going to introduce the PKA Soft Touch founder and CEO, Dick Crawford. Dick Crawford is an experienced project manager with over 50 years in the pharmaceutical industry. He has worked for several worldwide companies such as Pfizer, Merck, Bayer, and Valiant Pharmaceuticals. Dick has experience in building companies and bringing a number of products to market. Hello, Dick.
Hello.
So just want to probe into that a bit more. I mean, you seem to have some really major experience with major companies. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, please?
So I work, several of these are, I work for the major American branches of the pharmaceutical companies, and which is Pfizer, Merck, and Bayer. And when I worked for them, they were under a different name, but they've been acquired by these recent companies. And then Valiant Pharmaceuticals bought out BioVale. I did all BioVale's work while they were in Canada here. So what I did with these companies is to build plants overseas and in North America. And so not only we did the bricks and mortar of the plants, we also acquired and built the pharmaceutical production lines. And a lot of these have to do with sterile products. And so we had to order the equipment, install it, and operate and get it to operate and commission it and to make sure it produces a product that they were intended to do. So I have a lot of experience in this field and building plants that operate.
Excellent. I really appreciate that additional background. Just looking very specifically at your current campaign, you've just reached your target, or just recently reached your target of $750,000. Congratulations for the microneedle. Can you tell us what you plan to do with that funding?
So that $750,000 will help us to complete the clinical trial for the veterinary industry and prepare for the next human trials. The human trials require the veterinary trial as a backup. Most pharmaceutical companies that produce a device for the market test it in the veterinary industry first, and that's what we intend to do. To address the veterinary industry, we are going to do this in two steps. The first step is a 3D printed device, and this is what it looks like, and I'll explain more of this later. But this is all 3D printed material. The technology is improving every year. It is excellent. We can produce close tolerances between the different parts inside this device. So our clinical trial, which will be starting the end of this month, we will produce this trial with 3D printed devices. After that, we then take that success and we build molds, and the molds will be more accurate in terms of the different pieces inside this device. And then we will do a second veterinary trial in early next year. So that second trial early next year is our preparatory trial for the human trials, which we expect to execute in the fall of next year or 2022. So that's our process.
So let's talk a bit more deeper about the microneedles. What's the problem you're solving with the microneedle?
The syringes have been around for 170 years, and they improved.
A short while.
Sorry?
A short while.
Yes. And and we know that this device it works well, but it causes pain to people who have to take this syringe in their body. So Dr. Modi who is my partner in this company, is a worldwide known scientist in the pharmaceutical industry, in particular in the insulin industry. But he also became a type 1 diabetes user of insulin since he was 16. So he wanted a better way to inoculate himself without any pain. So he did this breakthrough technology back in the early 2000, 2003, 2005. And this will revolutionize the market because not only does it eliminate pain, but eliminates any sharp disposal, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. It also is easier to do. It's a single shot device that's filled in the factory. You apply it to yourself, and bingo, you're done. No pain, no sharp disposal, easy to use anywhere on the body, which you can't do with a syringe. Syringe have to be used in the 5 points of the body where there's enough muscle or fatty tissue to absorb the medication. Mm-hmm. So this is going to change the way we take inoculations around the world. Not every medication is suitable for our device, but most will. And so we plan to move that ball forward very successfully.
And I mean, I think that I read somewhere that isn't it 27% of people have a needle phobia. So, there's a real resistance to getting vaccinations or diabetes or whatever.
And I'm sure this shows up with the vaccinations that we're dealing with today, that some people are afraid to take this inoculation because it hurts. And so 27% of the population is indeed resistant to taking this inoculation. So with a syringe, so with this device, what we'll do is improve the quality of life because people can then take it. If you're a insulin user and you have to shoot up 3 times a day, people who have this phobia, they try to get by with 2 shots a day because it hurts all the time. And this way, it doesn't hurt, and they can shoot three times a day, no pain. So anybody who has to be on self-inoculation, such as heparin, morphine, or insulin, they will stay on the required regime required by their doctor. So it's going to change the life of many people.
Absolutely. And then I think the fact that, the disposal seems to be a big thing. I mean, if you're out and about, at a diabetic out and about in a restaurant, to be able to discreetly give yourself your insulin before your meal and then be able to sort of just dispose of it without needing special sharps disposal, that's probably pretty liberating.
Yes, and so I can demonstrate this a little bit here. So this is the device, and so we have a cap on the end of the device, and that's a safety cap. So after you get this device in a little plastic bag, because it has to be sterile. Anything that penetrates the skin has to be sterile. So we sterilize the needle, but we end up sterilizing the entire device. Mm-hmm. So we have a safety cap on there that prevents an accidental inoculation in the air before you put it on your skin. So, so if I was going to have a meal right now and I look at my caloric intake that I have to worry about and say, well, I guess I need 10 units. So I'll pick a device that's labeled 10 units, and I can put my arm underneath the table and push down on this. And this is how I would normally hold it. And this this way I'm holding it the same way with the syringe because we have to train people how to use this device. So that's a syringe motion. So I just touch the skin. I don't have to push. And I push down on this plunger at the top. In a second and a half, you receive the medication in your skin. And I'll talk about that in a second. So after you release your thumb, the needle then retracts automatically because we have a spring inside this device. And therefore, at the end of the inoculation, there's no needle sticking out. So, and then I would put the safety cap back on. And I throw this away in a wastepaper basket, right? Because no sharp disposal, there's nothing in here that's going to come out. The needle will not come out.
I'm going to pick up on 2 points you talked about. So one thing you mentioned was like having, say, the 10 meg microneedle. So, I mean, I know there has been quite a lot of issues, with misdosing. Not quite a lot. That's probably exaggeration, but there have been cases of misdosing. So, what do you do to sort of prevent misdosing of whatever's inside the microneedle?
It's done in a number of ways. One is that, for example, insulin users have to use different units. And so we will then color code the cap on this for different units, maybe red for 10 units, green for 15, and blue for 20. That's one way, and then we'll have a number on it. We also have to have pharmaceutical required labeling on the device itself, which is on the other parts of the device. So that's one way we can achieve different protection for dosing. Also, the fact that if let's say you have to shoot yourself with heparin, that'll be marked on the device, so that prevents. You look at that and you can say, yes, that's what I need. So the color coding and the labeling on the device, and this is single shot, so you don't have to worry about it. There's not going to be a different medication in here. You should be able to read this on the box where you would purchase this from a pharmacy or a clinic.
And so then it'd be very clear if it's 10 units versus 100 units, which I think is one of the challenges that seems to be taking place today is that, as I say, the misdosing. That's right.
And the other thing is that you have the correct dosage in this. If you're going to use a syringe, you have a syringe, you hold the vial upside down and you pull out what units you want to take. Some of the people, like if you're a long-term insulin user, your eyesight's not so good, and so you can make a mistake. Maybe instead of 10 units, you take out 8 or 12. This is always 10, so it's much more accurate and much less prone to misdosing.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned with a syringe today, there's only 5 points on the body that you can actually use a syringe that have enough sort of fat or muscle. And yet you can use, the microneedle anywhere on the body. But what about the sort of how quickly the drug gets into the body? I mean, if there's 5 points, are those the 5 best points to put the drug into the body? Or how does it compare with the microneedle where you can put the drug anywhere? Which is faster, which is better from that point of view?
So if you permit me, I will do a little diagram here.
You can diagram away.
Okay. So this is the 2 layers of skin. This is skin, and the top layer here is epidermis, and the second layer is the dermis. And between the two, you have interstitial fluid that's always moving in the body. So the skin is the largest organ on the body. So this device So we have a needle in here, and this needle goes out and deposit this medication in 1.5 to 2 millimeters in the skin into the interstitial fluid. Because the skin is the largest organ in the body, we have the clinical evidence that this drug at this point gets into the body twice as fast than a subcutaneous injection by a syringe. So what happens with the syringe? This needle goes down about 8 millimeters. And we're at 1.5, so, but it goes through the skin into fatty tissue or muscular tissue, and this is where the nerves are. So this gives you the pain of it with a syringe injection. We're above the nerves, and therefore we're only in the skin, and thereby we achieve a painless injection.
Okay, so it's painless, and then with the skin being the largest organ, you know, it distributes, and the interstitial fluid, it's distributing twice as fast. So that actually sounds like not just a benefit from an experience point of view, being pain-free, you know, reducing the chance of misdosing, but also sounds like, you know, better for the drug distribution too.
That's correct. And the other thing is it's sort of a byproduct of what we achieved here. Our device, this little thing, has very few parts. You know, some of the best technology in the world is usually developed with very few parts. And then we have a few stainless steel parts like the needle and the spring. And the rest of it is all other plastics. So we can make this cheap injection molded products. So we can, because it's small and few pieces that we can injection mold, our device will be the same cost as a syringe, which is the cheapest way to inject yourself on the market today. And the price also includes the syringe and also the drug inside. So we're comparing apples to apples here.
Okay, so same price as the lowest cost item. That's pretty impressive when you have new technology. Mm-hmm. It should certainly help adoption in the marketplace. So that's a good segue in. I appreciate the segue. Let's dive into PKA's business model. You don't intend to make the microneedles yourself or put the drugs into the needle. Instead, you plan to license the technology. Can you explain why?
Yeah, in the pharmaceutical industry, like we have this great device, but I can't get the drug to put in it because in the way the industry is set up, you know, it's designed to prevent any injuries or deaths to people who receive a medication. So therefore, we have to license our technology to a drug company. And so when we do that, we then transfer our technology to them, and then they will then make the device, fill it with their drug, and then market it and distribute it through their normal channels. And all this is done under Health Canada or FDA or European Directorate regulations or whatever country that the device is in. So that's how the industry is set up, and is to protect the consumer. We make our money based on a royalty stream that we receive from each device sold. So which we can't sell it ourselves. So it'll be done to the drug company. And then for every unit sold, we get a percentage of revenue. And so we will do that for the first drug, and then the second drug, and then the third drug. I mean, there's thousands of drugs that could be put inside our device. So the expansion of this market will be huge for us.
How many syringes are used each year around the world?
Billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
Because Because that leads in. So what is your go-to-market strategy?
So we designed this method of licensing the technology to drug companies. We did not want to approach another device maker, because the device maker may want to purchase their designs and then put it on the shelf and continue to sell syringes or whatever other business they're in. So we decided to license this directly to drug companies, because the drug companies would want to have this device. As you know, if you look at, let's say they're selling insulin and with syringes, well, here's our device, same cost, no pain, no sharp disposal, use anywhere in the body. Why would they not want to distribute our device to their market? So they want to do that and gain market share. When we license the technology to a drug company, they will say, fine, but we want exclusive rights to that market. In other words, if they're an insulin company, so I want worldwide exclusive rights. Well, then they're first in with using our device, so they will gain market share. So there's an incentive for them to license their technology, and this same thinking can be applied to any other market. The veterinary markets are also another big market for us. So,
so with the pharmaceutical companies, have you reached out to any yet, and what has their response been?
Yeah, so Dr. Modi and I, we've all been in a long time industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, and so we have already talked to at least 20 major pharmaceutical companies who are watching us right now. They don't want to jump in yet, because they want to see some clinical trial data, and that's what we're going to expect to achieve this month, and also early next year, and also at the end of summer next year. So with that data, they find out that the device works. And if I can divert a little bit into the clinical trial area.
Yeah, I'm intrigued, because you're starting with a veterinary clinical trial, so intrigued to see why you're starting there. It'd be great to get some more background.
Yeah, so when devices are developed, most people do their clinical trials first with animals. Even with drugs, they usually choose animals first. So we're going to do this clinical trial with dogs at the University of Guelph. At the University of Guelph is a countrywide known university dealing with in the veterinary industry. And so we'll have their world-class scientists to inoculate the dogs that we plan to use. And so we call this trial what's called a proof of concept. So we do half of the dogs with our device, the other half with a syringe. And then 2 days later, we swap that. The ones who got our device get a syringe, and those who got a syringe get our device. And if the pharmacokinetics are exactly the same between the two, we have proved the fact that our device works against the syringe, which is the gold standard in the industry. We plan to use atropine, which is a heart racing drug. So this is an easy method to measure the effect on the dog's body. So again, if the pharmacokinetics look the same, then we have achieved our objectives, and we'll do that again with the second veterinary trial. And the human trial, we expect to use insulin, again, that has a good marker for us to track using the same procedures.
How much do you think it's going to cost you to complete all your trials? So as you mentioned, you've already raised the 750,000. You're targeting $1 million now. But how much would it cost to actually get to the end of the human trials?
We're looking at the 1.68 million, which will cover the veterinary and the human trials. So it's not a big number, but again, we're working with a medical device and not a medication. We're only using approved drugs in our device, so we don't have to prove that. That's already been approved by some regulatory authority.
You're only really proving the delivery of the drug, not the actual drug itself, which is, I mean, I know some of these drug trials, they're $100 million. So 1.68 sounds a lot more reasonable. So at that stage, would you be able to license the microneedle for human use?
At that point, well, what's going to happen here, let me explain that a little more. So once we complete the second veterinary trial, that'll prove to the people in the veterinary industry that the device works in their industry. There are medications for dogs and for cats and canaries, cows, pigs, and horses, and so on. So we would then start our licensing with the veterinary companies first. Another reason we chose the veterinary industry versus starting with the human industry is the fact that there's less regulatory regulations, and so it's easier to enter that industry. But also, if we're successful in that industry, and then we do the human clinical trial, it will enhance the human drug companies to do a deal with us to license their technology.
Mm-hmm. So I remember reading, I have to say you're very good at keeping your investors or people interested in investing updated. You give regular updates on the status of everything. So I just want to give you kudos for that. But one of the things I read recently was that there was a delay due to COVID to actually get the microneedles. So can you give us an update on that and let us know when we can expect to sort of see some the trials taking place and when we can see some data?
Yeah, we've had some delays, and and this is for many industries. There's a labor shortage. The labor shortage translates into production shortage. I talked to companies that they can't get parts because the part company doesn't have enough supplies, doesn't have enough labor, and so we ordered our needles from a U.S. company, and they had delays, and so it delayed us by a couple months. But we finally got the needles yesterday.
Oh, excellent.
So we will be installing that in the devices, and then the trials will be commencing shortly thereafterwards.
So when do you think we'll see some data?
The data will, once we have to execute the trials, and then we expect to receive a report from the officials at the University of Guelph in 2 to 3 weeks after that. So that would be sometime in November.
Excellent. So building on from that, when can investors expect PKA to secure licenses to generate revenue?
So we're planning to engage with licensees in the veterinary industry in the early next year. And so that license process takes us 3 months, 6 months. And so what happens with that is that we'd send them our data, and they say, okay, Mr. Crawford, your device works. Well, now does it work with our drug? So what they do is they send us a small amount of their drug. We fill it in our devices, and then we hire a company that does compatibility tests on our device. And so what they do is to ensure, does our device affect the drug? Does their drug affect our device membrane that contains the drug inside our device? And if that's okay, then they do what's called short-term and long-term stability testing. And these are all methods that a veterinary company would want to evaluate our device. So upon success in those areas, we then go ahead and complete a license transfer, and then we wait for them to put it on the market.
Excellent.
So we're showing, if everything goes according to Hoyle here, we expect to be starting to make some revenue by the end of next year.
Fantastic.
Or early 2023.
So let's move on a little bit. For investors, one of the key questions is, what is your exit strategy? It's be a few years after that, I'm guessing, but.
Yeah, so, with the crowdfunding that we're doing now today, so we're raising funds, and that results in shares for the various contributors, and you become a shareholder. And so we want to make sure that shareholders can end up with some value in their pockets. And so our strategy is threefold. One is that as soon as we see revenue coming in, we want to issue dividends. This is particularly from shareholders who've been with us for a while. And then we also want to look at merging with a company that has an IPO arrangement. And so that, there's usually a share swap. And so it gives you opportunity for shareholders to exit at that time, or partially exit, whatever they want to do. And the third way is that we would then do our own IP, take some money to do that. But that's another way we will continue to grow and acquire more shareholders, and also allow current shareholders to exit.
Excellent. So 3 very, very clear options there. What is the standard multiple in this space?
The standard multiple is 6 times. It's 21 times what the industry calls for. And so it has a huge upside potential.
Yeah, I mean, that's a, for comparable businesses, I mean, that's 21 times is a very strong multiple there. So really appreciate this discussion, Dick, but I'm going to open it up to the floor because I'm sure there's lots of good questions out there. So for everybody listening, if you look at the bottom left of your screen, you'll see a little couple of bubbles. Click on that and you can ask your questions to Dick, and I'll make sure that they go through. Okay. Great question, Tanuj. Thank you very much. We got a question from Tanuj Bhatia. I understand the share price would change after the clinical trial. The price has been constant at 20 cents per share for the first round and this round of financing. What can we expect the price of the next round of funding, and when would that be? Would it be after the second clinical trial or before?
It's a good question.
Say again?
It's a good question.
Yes, I agree.
So how this works is that Dr. Moni and I wanted to keep the share price at 20 cents, and to the point when we really see an increase in value. And so once we have achieved the second veterinary trial, so that's a device made with clinical molds. So with that mold, we can sell that mold to, or give that technology to the drug company, and away they go. So that's a big leap in value of our company. And so at that time, we're going to reevaluate, and I can't put a number on it, but I can tell you the fact that that is a huge milestone, and so we're going to reflect that in the share price.
I mean, you've de-risked the business because you've got that, you've got the proof of concept, but you've also got the mold, you've got something to sell. So yes, as you say, that the valuation will be significantly different. I mean, just what is the company's pre-money valuation today?
Yeah, so I just want to end up one more thing I want to say is that the reason when we get to this human trial, the human trial is done on the Health Canada requirements, and so it's already been passed by the regulators. So that's why it's going to be huge, and that could be another boost in share price. Right? The human market is huge, and the fact that we have cheated on the Health Canada conditions. Getting to your question, the value of the company right now is 6.6 million. It's based on 33 million shares outstanding, and we will have more shares, but the share price is going to really balance that off.
Yes, I mean, especially when you're pre-revenue, it's sometimes difficult to sort of do that estimation. But as you say, once you hit these milestones and revenues, and we've heard the multiple, then that number is likely to change. So hopefully that answered your question, Tanush. Thank you very much for that. Next question. When will you break even?
We tend to break even at as soon as the veterinary trial revenue stream starts, and so that's shown to be in 2023. And from there, you'll on our business plan and on other things on our campaign page, it shows that we're going to be making money. And then when we in 2024, we expect the human market to be on stream, and the curve will go up significantly. So,
and that's you raise a really good point. So anybody who wants more information, if you go to the Front Funder campaign page, you will see a fully detail of the campaign. There's also the investor deck there, but there's also the business plan there. So you can if you want to do a deep dive on the information, of course you can ask Dick right now, but there's also information there. Okay, so what is your burn rate at the moment, would you say? Because I know you've got lots of patents to maintain, etc. as well, don't you?
Yeah, and in this business, we have 23. We're patented in 23 countries around the world, and so that was in 2007. For some countries, it took a long time to get the patents through their regulatory departments. And in 2019, we applied for a PCT US patent. And so that'll protect our technology for an additional 20 years from that point in time. So it's going to give a lot of value to our investors. So getting to the question of the burn rate, in the research industry, our rate is different from every month. It's not like producing a widget that stays the same every month or every week. So our rates are quite different. So it could be 6,000 one month, 10,000, 12,000 the next month. And maintaining patents is expensive. If anybody else is in the drug business knows about that, so or any other business where you have patents.
Excellent. Going back to, I think, a previous question, is IPO the final ultimate goal for the company? It's very exciting to hear this directly from you, Mr. Dick Crawford.
Our goal is to bring this technology to the world, and Dr. Modi and I both have a vision that this simple device could be used in underserved countries that have to be inoculated against diphtheria, Ebola virus, dengue fever, and so on. And like the Bill Gates Foundation has lots of programs going on right now. They're working with polio. So with this device, if you picture a long line of people coming up to a tent, and right now they have a syringe that has a sharp point on it, and that stresses the people, and so they're not happy with it. Also, they may not want to come to this tent. With this device, they'll come down the line. They don't see any needle. They take the cap off. There's no needle sticking out, and this is applied to their skin. Could be anywhere where it's easy to use, and they come out of the tent smiling. So it doesn't hurt. So this is what Dr. Modi's and my vision is for the use of this product, in addition to all the other uses.
So really, the IPO is one option, but ultimately it's more about how the product is used, that it's used globally, that it may have almost charitable benefits on one side, but also very clear clinical benefits on the other side. So whatever exit strategy will support that is really what I'm hearing from you is what you will go for.
That's right.
Excellent. Okay, do we have any other questions from the floor? Just checking. If anyone sees me looking down, I apologize. It's just I have my, I'm tracking this on Facebook for anybody who's watching it from Facebook as well. So I thank you for being patient with me looking up and down. Okay. I think we have, oh, I can see some typing. Question, the next round of financing would be before the human trial.
What's the question?
Will the next round of financing be before the human trial?
Right now, we're raising money for the human trial. And because raising 1.2 million is a big number probably for the fund funder people, so we have to raise this in chunks. So we're now at 750. We're going to raise to 100 and then raise to a higher number after that. And once we raise that last number, 1.2 million, which is for the human trial, then we're away to the races. So we expect to use that money up by the end of 2022.
And I think that's the thing, because I think you're under an offering memorandum, which is allows you to do multiple closes and to have campaigns running longer. So you're able to sort of time, it's almost like an ongoing raise to get the full amount with milestones in between. And at each milestone, you're able to progress more. So whether it be the animal trials, the mold of the animal trials, or the human trials, it's all building to that human trial. So it's almost like one continuous financing round with little steps on the way.
Yeah, and we don't spend the money all in 1 month, right? It takes time to spend the money. It has to be spent in sequence, and once we start on the human trials, we have to file lots of data with the regulatory commission. Today, all our files here and all our research is done under Health Canada guidelines, even though we haven't sent anything to them yet. But we know that when they come under their umbrella, they will go back through our files and say, well, how did you acquire this technology? We have to prove that, and then we have to write a protocol. A protocol dictates how you conduct the human clinical trial. We expect to do a human clinical trial in a hospital in Newmarket. We already had made contact with them, so they're waiting for us. And again, that'll function the same way as an animal trial. Once the data is collected at the trial site, again, it's the short trial, same like the dog trial, be 1 and 2 day trial, using humans instead of animals this time. And then the data then is sent to the regulatory authorities, and then after a couple of months of questioning and answering, and then we have a approval to market. And so that's where the big drug companies would want to then start to weigh in on our advice, because we proved that it worked. And the same procedure will happen, is that we will do compatibility studies for this. That's all been allowed for in our money raising efforts. So,
Excellent. We got another question came in. You mentioned the first exit strategy would be to start giving out dividends once the company is profitable. I understand the offering is common stock and not preferred stock. How would you decide to distribute the dividends? Would it be based on the early bird arrival?
I'm sorry, the early bird?
I think it's those people who came in first. Would they be the ones getting the dividends, or would, all the people who are, say, investing today, would they be eligible for dividends too?
Yeah, it's a good question. We want to keep things simple, and so, for example, we have only common shares. We don't have any preferred shares or any special shares for anybody. And also, we would treat everybody the same with dividends. There's no special class, and so everybody is treated equally. So everybody gets the dividend rate, whatever we decide to issue.
Okay, a question here from Conrad. Thank you. There's been a large 125,000 pledge sitting in Front Funder for a long time. Are you aware of who has made this pledge? And does this pledge ever intend to close? I'm wondering I think there's actually multiple ones in there. It's not just 125K. I think there's multiple ones in there. But Dick, please, if you're able to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm not aware of this 125,000 pledge, but I think it's probably a number of people in there. And if we have called some of the people in that stream. If it's a large number, or they need assistance, they want to talk to the CEO. I'm always happy to talk to investors. In fact, I'm happy to talk to any investor that comes in. We have an open book here. we publish briefing notes on a quarterly basis to all our shareholders. It's their money. So we want to explain how we're spending their money. So we're very transparent.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised if some people are just waiting to see the trial results. So let's see what happens at the end of the month if that number moves quite rapidly.
Yes.
Excellent. We're getting some great questions. Oh, another one. Great question. Will you be extending the campaign again if it crosses the 1 million, which is your current goal, and moving forward to the 1.27 million?
Yes. We got, Front Funder has been a fantastic company for us. We did do a search for crowdfunding companies, and so we settled on Front Funder, and they have done a marvelous job of helping us to get to our goals. And yes, we want to close out on the 1.27 million so we can achieve our human trials, and so we hope to get there.
Excellent. This is great. I'm seeing some questions coming in on both sides, so if you've still got some time, Dick, I would love to ask these questions to you.
Okay.
I'm letting people type. So seeing if we've got any questions on the other side whilst we're waiting. Just giving people, I don't want to put pressure on people. It's funny, you can see somebody typing, but you don't see what they're typing until it's there. Do you think that from the 1 million to the 1.27 million, do you think that would again be at the same price, i.e. the 20 cents per share when the campaign is extended?
That depends on timing. We have one set of time based on the clinical trials. We have another set of time on raising money. So we can't really forecast that right now if they arrive at the same point. One arrives before the other. We'll have to look at it as it comes.
So the board will just make a decision at that time, and depending on the timing of the trials and the timing of the raise. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I think we've had some fantastic questions. Thank you very much to everybody who's attended today. Having hit their goal of 750,000, PKA Soft Touch capital raise has been increased to 1 million for the next round of trials. Canadians living in Ontario, Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick are all eligible to invest with a minimum investment of $500. Of course, you can invest more depending on your profile. So go to https //www.frontfunder, and that's spelled frontfundr.com/PKA Soft Touch to read the full information and register to invest. Thank you very much, Dick. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending today. It was great to have a deep dive into the business plan. Yes, enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you for participating.
Excellent. Thank you. Bye-bye.